Hello everyone, in this video we're going to talk about cell and its components called the organelle and the cell membrane. This is one of many videos that I made on this topic, so please bear with me. This presentation might provide you some more insight. Alright, so do all membranes have the same basic structure? Both the cell membrane and the membrane surrounding certain organelles have the same basic structure. So yes, the answer is yes. So the membrane is made of a sea of phospholipids with protein molecules floating in between the phospholipids, which means if you consider the membrane as a wall, and the phospholipids are bricks and the proteins are gates, and there are windows which are glycoproteins are responsible for other function of a cell membrane. So where are proteins located within the membrane? So to answer that, what is an intrinsic protein, what is an extrinsic protein, and why is it called the fluid mosaic model? Alright, so the intrinsic protein, if you look at this, so the reason why it's called fluid mosaic model, so let's discuss the fluid mosaic model first. Alright, before I confuse you, let's do it slide by slide. So intrinsic protein, they are also called channel proteins. So the proteins that run across the membrane. So one side of the protein starts at one end of the membrane, and the second, and the protein ends on the other side of the cell membrane. They are called intrinsic protein or channel protein. These are like gates. Just like a wall has gate, a cell membrane have intrinsic proteins, or which are called channel proteins, and they allow movement of substance such as glucose across the cell membrane. They don't require any energy to function, and they are so it's like a mechanical gate. You open it and stays open, doesn't require any energy, doesn't require any electricity to open or close. Alright, so the first type of intrinsic protein was the channel protein, so they don't require electricity or energy to run. The second type are called carrier proteins. Now these are like electrical gates. They require energy in the form ATP to perform its duty of allowing transport of molecules across the cell membrane. So again, they are intrinsic. They start at one end and ends at the other end of the cell membrane, and they actively transport substances and minerals across cell membrane, but to the use of ATP or energy. So this is just a diagram showing difference between the channel and the carrier protein. These are carrier proteins. So this form of fancy, so if you look consider them in terms of a wall, so the fancy gates, they are carrier proteins, require ATP, and classic gates, which are the channel protein, they don't require any energy to work, but both perform the function of transporting substances across the cell membrane. So what bilayer, so the phospholipids, or the bricks in the wall, or if you consider cell membrane as a wall, are called phospholipids. They form a bilayer. The tails of the if this is a single phospholipid, then it has two tails and one head. The head faces the outside, and the tails protrude towards the inside, and the phospholipid align themselves so that the tails face each other and the heads are on the opposite side. That's because the heads love water and the tails don't. So this sandwich of the structure is called a bilayer. So why do phospholipids have both hydrophobic and hydrophilic parts? Like, why does a phospholipid or a brick of a cell membrane have water loving and water hating part? Water loving is hydrophilic and water hating is hydrophobic. That's because this arrangement helps it keep its structure conformation, and the phospholipid heads are polar, they are water soluble. Well, the lipid tails are non-polar and they are water insoluble, so they don't like water. They stay away from water. The heads, they like water, they stay towards the water. So this kind of structure composition helps the lipid phospholayer to perform its function as a brick in the cell membrane wall. Now one other component, or the functional component of cell membrane, are called polysaccharides. So these polysaccharides actually made of carbohydrates, and they help in cell signaling and other function of a cell membrane. So these polysaccharides are present on the cell membrane, and they help perform different function. If you consider cell membrane as a wall, then these are like windows from which different functions are performed. So this is just a diagrammatic view. So these are polysaccharides. These are polysaccharides. They can be attached to the proteins or the bilayer or different sources. See, the phospholipids here attached to proteins. So the different structure of the phospholipid allows it to perform different function for the cell. So if, for example, if this is a signaling phospholipid, then it will receive a signal and carry it inside the cell. Alright, so what's the difference between a glycoprotein and a glycolipid? So when the carbohydrate is attached to the protein, it's called a glycoprotein, and when the carbohydrate is attached to lipid, it's called glycolipid. Simple. Alright, so what is the role of glycoprotein? They may help in the recognition of an interaction with other cells. They may also play a part in recognition of hormones and foreign molecules. So as I said earlier on, these are function unit of a cell membrane. So glycoprotein actually receive and disperse messages from and to the cell. These are different types of glycoproteins. So this is the glycopod, this is the protein, this is the carbohydrate part in the protein. See, messages transmit inside the cell or can have the message outside the cells, or can transmit message outside the cell as well. These are very important in drug discovery projects. So a lot of the drugs, they act on the glycoproteins. So cholesterol, so this is another component, functional component of a cell. So if these are phospholipids, then you can see the cholesterol in here. So cholesterol is also present in the cell membrane. It maintains the fluidity and increases the stability of membrane. Without cholesterol, the membrane would easily split apart. So when we build a wall, and we can't just put bricks on top of one another, we need a sticky material. So this sticky material, in terms of construction, is called cement, but in terms of cell membrane, the cholesterol provides the sticky material. And if the cement or the cholesterol is not there, the phospholipids, which are the bricks of the cell membrane, they will fall apart. I hope that makes it clear. So what are the different functions of cell membrane? Cell membrane provides a barrier, a selective permeable barrier, which means it allows some substance to pass but not all. It keeps the structure and keeping the cell content together, allows communication with other cells, so allow recognition of other external substances, and allows mobility in some organisms with the help of specialized functional units and the site of various chemical reaction. So in simple words, it is like a wall. It has got windows and doors that help the cell to communicate with the outside of environment and helps the cell survive. Alright, so some organisms do exist as single cells. So some organisms like bacteria are just made of one cell. So the cell membrane actually separates the cell from the outside environment, but multicellular organisms have a number of cells. So the cell membrane separates the cell from the surrounding cells, not the surrounding environment. The function of organism are divided up amongst the group of cells which become specialized for particular function. Specialized cells should division of labor. So cells in different part of the body can perform different function, and hence the membrane in that part of on the cells of those surrounding those cells perform different specialized functions. So what is the definition of a tissue? So a tissue is actually a group of cells that combine to perform a particular function. For example, in our muscles, the cells combine, specialized cells combine to perform a particular function of movement. and hence this collection of cells is called a tissue. So proper definition is a tissue is defined as a collection of cells together with any extracellular secretion that is specialized to perform one or more particular function. Tissue may contain only one type of cell or several types. That is what we explained. Alright, so if you guys have any questions regarding cell membrane and its function, or what cells are and how they're combined in a tissue, we will explain the tissues in a separate video, but for the purpose of this video, we will end it, summarize the cell membrane's function. So cell membranes are like walls which have windows and doors, and the wall protect the cell, but the wall also have other functions to allow the cell to communicate with the outside and perform threading, and provides the cell, so the cell membrane provides threading routes and signaling routes for the cell to communicate with the outside environment. I hope this video was informative. If you want more videos like this, please comment, and if you have any question, please leave them in the comment section. Thank you.